Hello, and welcome to the Art of Presence podcast, where we feature the stories and inner wisdom of everyday people. As an unscripted adventure with no planned topic, we start with what is present with us in the moment and see where it takes us by practicing the art of presence with each other. I'm your host, Christine Pollard, and on today's episode, I'm joined by Ashley. We talk about many things, including our soul goal, sharing our light and what lights us up, and she invites me to do a practice together that really gets me outside of my comfort zone. I invite you to join us in practicing the art of presence as we listen to what Ashley has to share with us today, and also noticing what arises within you, and feel welcome to share with us. We start just after completing a grounding meditation to bring us into the present moment. And I am so curious, what is present for you right now?
Oh, I just have so much gratitude.
Oh,
I have gratitude for you. I have gratitude for this grand adventure that I'm on. I have gratitude for the capacity that we all hold within ourselves. I think right now I'm really fortunate to be on a grand adventure to figure out what my highest potential and capacity is as a human being, what light I carry within myself that I want to radiate out. And I just have so much gratitude for that and joy. To be in your presence today feels like an amazing opportunity of reconnection of two humans that a long time ago had the opportunity to grace each other with their presence. And so to bring that back today, I think just reminds me of the power of human connection and how deep down we all want to be seen, heard, valued, and loved exactly as we are. And I feel like you're creating that space with this. And I see that and I value that in you so much. I think I saw it, a decade ago-ish when we were together. But I am reminded of that today and the power of that, and how even though we haven't seen each other for years, it carries and radiates forward into the present time. Because really it boils down to the fact that that's a language that I feel like can be transmitted across any barriers and boundaries, this sense of love and connection that we can have for each other. And so thank you for holding the space for me today.
yeah. I feel this energy from you, also like when you started and talking about gratitude, like your face just like lit up, and I see this big smile, but I also feel this energy that you speak about, and even just the way that you speak about it, like I hear it through your voice. And so I feel that gratitude, and I feel also, that reconnection, and even though we haven't spoken in so many years, it's like no time has passed either. So it's really cool how that can work sometimes.
I know, it's funny. I think that, I don't know, I think I'm coming into the belief very strongly that life happens the way it's supposed to. I think sometimes there are things that have happened in my life that I've resisted a lot, but I still end up stumbling upon them anyway. So so I can kind of loosen up my grip on life and just kind of let it rip. And, I think there's resistance that's always going to be there, especially if there's trauma or hardship or something that lingers in my conscious and unconscious being, that I maybe haven't dealt with or addressed or nurtured or seen, maybe parts of me. And so, yeah, I just feel like when you hold the life that you have with a little bit more ease, you can really make use and find the beauty in everything. And So I initially, when you emailed me and you were like, hey, do you want to go on? Because I had reached out to you and been like, hey, do you want to be on my podcast? And you were like, I would love to have you on mine. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And I feel like that was a little bit of resistance, that I was like, I have to do this now. And well, not in that moment, but I did have to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm here today because there was resistance, and I wanted to look that resistance in the face and be like, what's really there? What's there that needs to be worked on? Where is the truth that's found deep down in that hole that needs to come out and shine? And, maybe it's my non-love of being on camera. Maybe it's, as a person who's a teacher and a podcaster and like a lot of things, we're often behind something. So this is my opportunity to come out into this present being seen opportunity. Like and you have education in your background, and I think we have a role there, and that role separates us. And yes, there are moments as educators or like coaches or something where you can feel seen too, but often you are providing the opportunity to hold space for other people to be seen, heard, and valued as they are, with compassion. And so this is me stepping into that space that I normally don't hold, and being like, I'm a little bit scared, but I'm still showing up and doing the work. And I think that's really kind of this aura of which I live my life now. And I feel like that's the sweet spot of like, if I want to grow and develop, this is the work that I have to do. And I have to be aware of when I feel resistance, and then be brave enough to step into that light that could come as a result of climbing out of that dark hole or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear that the scary part like asking you to be on the podcast and being like, oh, I don't know. And then you came back suddenly and was like, yeah, I'd love to. Let's do it now. Like I'm ready.
Yep.
So I loved that. And I actually, because you're talking about things like happening the way they're supposed to. And I was just thinking, I'm like, oh, I need to get recording more for the second season. And it's been difficult for me to find people and schedule. And I was just feeling like, ugh, about it. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, do you want to do this? And like, are you available now? And I'm like, yes. Okay, great. Easy. Right. Like made it so easy for me. So,
that's universe magic, man. That really is like,
yeah.
whether people believe in woo woo or not, like I really do believe the things that we're meant to experience and interact with come at the right time. You can like pursue them a little bit, like I'm not saying to be apathetic to one's life, right? Like I'm a real intense go-getter. But I also have to be like, let it go a little bit too. Like you can show up as your best self, and then you can control all the inputs, but you have actually no say of the outputs. You can't control how people perceive you. You can't control if that ASICS order for the new shoes you want goes through, or it just keeps like death wheeling. That just happened to me like 10 minutes before this call. And I'm like trying to submit the order. Maybe I'll get like 50 pairs of shoes. But yeah, I wonder if you have encountered like the universe working in mysterious ways, or if you've encountered resistance that you then challenged too.
Yeah. I recently had a bunch of what I call synchronicities. It was so exciting. It was so exciting. I was like, one day, I actually haven't shared this publicly, so part of me is hesitant. So I'm naming my own hesitancies of, what's present for me right now. So my husband and I are separated right now. And so we keep our kids here, and the two of us swap out of our house so that the kids can consistently be in our home. And so I go to my mom's house, who is about 10 minutes away. And so I've been taking my, time off to really spend time with myself and doing self-care and reflecting and things. And a couple years ago, I did the Artist's Way,
Oh, yeah.
and I kept wanting to do the morning pages, and then lately I haven't. So that's been like my ritual for my alone time. And I was writing in my morning pages, and I was like, oh, I really need. Um, I've been looking for like a business coach and trying to find the right fit. And I was like, oh, I really need these qualities. I'm having trouble finding them. And then I was like, oh, and I really want to create more like ritual in my life. And so I wanted some like oracle cards for fun to just like, bring intention into my life for the day. And so I was writing about that. And then later that day, I got an email from a business coach that I'd been kind of following, and it had some stuff in there, like exactly what I was looking for, and then pointed me to someone else who had a free book that they were launching. So, like, at the moment, it was free. And then it had steps in this book for coaches, like, again, exactly what I was needing. I was like, oh, this is so perfect. And then in that book, it uses like the certain card deck at the end of each chapter to invite like reflection and stuff and integration. It's like, oh, I was looking for a card deck and this seems like a really good one. So I'm like, okay, I'll get that one. And so then I like ordered this card deck and I like got all these answers for what I was needing, and it just like fell in my lap. It was so crazy. And I was like, I didn't even have to like do anything. It just happened.
Yeah, but you did. You opened yourself up
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
situation where you might have been really closed off and resistant. I just hold you with so much compassion. That's like so brave to share that story for so many reasons. It is not my lived experience, but I still see you, and I think it's awesome that you're able to tell your truth, because I think it makes us all as humans relatable. Like, I think especially with social media, I love it, right? And I think you can choose, like, I call them like your circle of influence, right? Like, if you're not around people that can inspire you, then social media can allow you to connect with people that you otherwise might not have connected to, whether it's the coach that you're talking about. But it can be this place where you're constantly looking at conformity, or you're constantly being compared, or feeling like it's not enough. And so having conversations like these where you tell your truth, just people can see your light like a beacon from like a lighthouse, and they can find you because of it. But it
Mhm.
is only in that vulnerability, in that bravery of sharing your light, that people can find you. But it
Right.
feels so hard because you're like, I don't want people to really see me with like this mask, that. So I appreciate you. I think there needs to be more people that are sharing this truth, whatever it means to them. I also just love the synchronicity story because I also just got an Oracle deck. Um, and mine, it's like in the other room, but and I like flipped cards over as I was like in preparation for this call. And this deck is called like Work Your Light or something. It is beautiful. And I'm using it because I believe, these are my beliefs, but I believe that my soul has a job here, has an intention here, and the more I can live in alignment with my soul goal per se, where my actual physical purpose, like the one I am orienting towards, like my mind state matches my soul state, and the more in alignment these are, the less resistance I have. And once I get over that initial hurdle, you know what I mean, of like what we're talking about here, in telling my truth and sharing my light, then it's easier. And so these oracle cards just kind of allow me to listen to this voice that's already in myself. I'm not talking woo woo. I'm talking like
Right.
intuitive
Right.
truth and knowledge that exists within me. I haven't connected this chord yet.
Mhm.
And so I'm now connecting it more diligently. And so one of the cards that I picked was Don't Dim Your Light. And I feel like this is such an alignment with that conversation.
It is, yeah.
Oh, that's so good. I feel good things for you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, it's funny, like you talk about social media, and I joined Instagram like a little over 2 years ago. Because I was really resistant to it for the longest time because I'd grown up on Facebook, and I was like, I don't want another platform. Like it just seemed like too much. But then I noticed like Instagram was really more geared towards people our age.
Yep.
and
Yep.
and I was like, okay, well if I'm gonna reach people, that's probably where I should be. Um and I intentionally, because I knew it could become a really like toxic thing in my life. So I intentionally like only followed people that inspire me, and like musicians and artists that like I think is just so fun to watch people be creative, create things that it's actually been for the most part a good thing for me. I think I started following too many trauma healing people, and I was getting it was like too much. So then I was like, I need to back off of this. And um, like I've been on a healing journey for a long time, but I was like actively pursuing it. Whereas now I'm like, I need to back off. And not that I'm done with my journey, but I've just noticed that like I don't need to try so hard at healing. That healing is like always available. There's so many opportunities that I can just take whatever's here. I don't have to like go grasping for stuff or even looking. Like if I just allow it to come up, like whatever's ready for healing is there. If I just allow it up, I don't have to work so hard at it. And so I was like, I need to not be reading so much about this right now.
Yeah, it's like all the knowledge, all the capacity we hold for whatever it is we're looking for innately is found within us. We just have to be ready to hear it at that particular time. And I find that I have seasons where I go like deep dive into whatever it is I'm focusing on, which is what you're kind of alluding to with, or maybe directly stating with regard to your healing journey and the work that you did in preparation for your knowledge and expertise. And yeah, so I just feel like sometimes there are seasons of deep dive, and sometimes there are just like, I have to hold this loosely now. I have all the
Mhm.
things I need, but whatever will come into presence will. And then I need to notice what that inner voice is telling me that may or may not be true. Like this morning
Mhm.
when I woke up, I was like, do I want to go to the gym? No. That inner voice was like, you can just sleep later. Like, it's fine. But I was like, no, my commitment to myself is to go to the gym even when I don't want to, and I show up, and I don't care if I lift for 5 minutes. Like I have done the commitment for myself. Now, I'm in the thick of doing 75 hard. So I actually have more of a commitment, but and that's like my little bit of extra flair coming out. But this is a way to increase my self-confidence and self-worth because I show up for myself even when the voice in my head tells me not. Even when people
Mhm.
around me are like, don't you just want that drink? Or don't you just want that cookie or whatever it is? And I'm like, no, I can't because I've committed to myself for this thing. And yes, I could, but I fail and have to start over. So it's a little bit of accountability, but yeah, that's what comes up for me when you said that.
Yeah, and that reminds me, I heard recently, I don't know where it was. I was talking with someone, and we were talking about the difference between discipline and devotion, and how we were choosing to be devoted to ourselves. Like it was just a little more, I don't know. Like, I don't know, discipline just seemed harsher or maybe more external, whereas devotion felt more like in service of ourselves. So as you talk about, that commitment to yourself, yeah, I think of devotion.
It also makes me think really quickly, as you like mentioned that I feel like I started to change my perspective from life happens to me to life happens for me.
Mm.
So same thing with discipline versus devotion. The difference between discipline and devotion to me is like this anchor in self, right? Like, are you orienting towards self? Are you orienting towards this is a gift that I'm giving to myself and I am owning, instead of this is the thing that I need to do because it's sort of a punishment, right? So it's like this lens of like owning that I want to do, this is the gift I'm giving to myself. And like I said before, or echoed a little bit, was it's this transition to the perspective of which I take life, which is instead of life is happening to me, it's happening for me. It's this gift that I'm experiencing, all of the glory, all of the hardship, everything. It's all intended. I just don't necessarily know why yet. And but it's nonetheless a gift. And how can I make the most of this gift of this one life that I have? And to me, it seems like a disservice to not share and spread your light as far and as wide as possible if it comes from an anchor of love.
Yeah. We need more of that
I
in the
mean,
world.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to come from a place of pretentiousness or like you can't find this within yourself too. And I think that's important, is like, I am not special. People in my life are not special. It's often easy to pedestal people because they're maybe at a different point in their life journey. Yes, you can admire people. Yes, you can put them in your circle of influence, but they have like issues too. They have barriers and resistance that they're working on. And the more you can see people from a human to a human anchored in this place of love, the more you can help each other to thrive in their light, right? Like, you don't want to steal anybody else's light or like dim their light because it threatens yours. These things can all coexist. They don't have to, it's not an either or, it's an all.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm special, right? Like, I just think I've chosen to prioritize and switch my perspectives on these things. And this year, I am so grateful to be able to have the opportunity to prioritize a few things in my life, one of which is just doing everything in my power to become the best version of myself in this moment every single day for the whole year. So it's like compounding. And it makes me think of like you said that you bring up, I mean, you brought up daily rituals and practices. And so I thought a lot about routine, and I thrive in a good routine. That's where 75 hard came from. But I also was like, okay, what other things in my routine help me to be in alignment with that? And it makes me, it also, I just want to demystify this a little bit. I wake up on the wrong side of the bed 50% of the time, right? Like, so I wake up and I'm like, oh man, like I'm feeling good, or I'm like feeling grouchy and like I don't want to do the things. So yes, I meditate. Yes, I like read oracle cards. Yes, I love writing, like just ripping, just letting it rip. Like the daily pages, I like typing because I can type faster and my hand hurts less. But I go to the gym in the morning. I like to get outside and ground and like that kind of thing. So there's like lots of things that I do, but that doesn't, just because I show up and do these things every day doesn't mean that when I wake up, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this day is great all of the days, like rainbows and butterflies all the time. It's not, because we live in a human body and this inner voice just goes round and round and round. But like, and you probably know this with the journey through meditation, is like you become aware that you are not the voice inside your head. And that in the morning when you get up, you have that choice. When that voice comes up and is like, I don't want you to go to the gym, you're like, like, I love that for you, voice, but like, it's not me today. So anyway.
Sorry. I love that for you, but no, not today. But what I love is the choice like when you live a more intentional life or a more present life, choice is an option. Whereas otherwise we're on autopilot, and really it's our patterns that are deciding for us. And so it's really, choosing what is going to guide me today. Who am I going to be today? And when choice opens up, I mean, it changes everything, because you get to choose a path instead of just kind of being carried on. Yeah.
And stuff's going to happen, right? Like, I think Buddha said something to the extent of like, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Right. And so I think of like, are you going to get the inevitable flat tire sometime? And the answer is yes, you are. But how you respond to the flat tire is in fact your choice. And it's like this gap between stimuli and how you, I say respond because I think that's different than react. Respond is with the gap, react is not. But it's awareness, right? And I think in general, there's like this awareness revolution going on, I think, where people are kind of waking up to the power that they contain within themselves. And people are also more authentically stepping into their light.
Yeah.
And I think that's so awesome to see, because I think, there are so many things where I'm like, I have resistance to being on camera. Why do I have a resistance to being on camera? Because I am afraid that people are going to judge the way that I look. Because I think I could look better if I was 10 pounds lighter. Because I am not as pretty as XYZ person. Except I'm choosing in this moment, and I'm doing this daily video project. So I'm choosing to literally push that aside and just move on. Right? Like, so I record videos every day. I committed to 30 days. It is so cool, but also so hard. Because I think the way that I reflect and like get stuff is generally through writing. I think it comes like, I can literally go from my brain to text without there's no gap. There's no thinking. It's just like down onto the page. And it is much harder verbally. Like, I can obviously talk. But I think challenging myself to the video, and then like I'll watch it back and I'll be like, wow, I like can't believe I said that. Like, where did that idea come from? And then you just realize like, it doesn't matter if you showered, it doesn't matter if your hair's up or down, it doesn't matter if you curled your hair, because like everybody has those moments. It's just like, yeah, I feel like our age bracket is way more about showing up and being like, okay, well, I showed up. Who cares? Who cares what I look like? Who cares what I smell like? Who cares what my hair looks like? And I just feel like I am so grateful to be around people who have that energy, because it's allowing me to step into it more.
Yeah.
The resistance is still there, but
right. But you're doing it even right now in this moment.
Yeah.
And so noticing that resistance, and what is it like inside of you right now, knowing that you're on video. I mean, people aren't seeing you right now, but this will be a video potentially. So what do you, is it like, oh, I'm okay right now? Or is there still this like, can you find some of that safety within yourself? Like, it's going to be okay. Or is there still this, resistance?
I feel like it's transitioning to more of like an initial resistance over, like now it seems like there's a hurdle, but once I get over the hurdle, it's just kind of like, meh, like flat, even keeled. Am I eagerly excited about it? No.
Yeah.
But I also feel like I am consciously aware of this hurdle, and I just want to show up and keep getting the reps, because when you're doing things new, like over and over again, when they're new, I feel like reps is very important to establishing a comfort in a desensitizedness, like desensitization, I think is what I was going for. So I feel like, did I want to be on video? No. But that's just another block for me to fully be seen as I am.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also this understanding of who I am today might not be who I am tomorrow, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, etc. And so this is just who I am in this moment, this present moment. And I'm showing up the best I can in this present moment and then holding the rest loosely, right? It's that conversation of I can control the inputs, right? Like I showered and put on some like decent clothes, but then I have to let the rest go, right? Like, and I think I have had a lot of situations where I have been in the presence of someone who cannot handle the light that comes from within me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So,
mm-hmm.
and they're reacting to my light, whatever it is, right? Like my intense personality or whatever. And, and what I'm starting to learn, kind of difficult, from a difficult place, is that I can't control any of how they show up. And oftentimes people show up at what their capacity is, and it has nothing to do with you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
mm-hmm.
But I think that's really hard because I tend to be a person who takes everything personally, except I can't do anything about how, like, you could have woken up on the wrong side of the bed and been like, yeah, I know I wanted to do this interview, but now I'm just like grumpy. Or you could have gotten in a fight with your mom or whatever it is. And I can't control that. I can't control how you show up. I can just control how I show up and come in with the best of intentions and be like, this is all of me in my light. Hopefully it works out, right? Like that, that's all you could do. But I think when you're too close to it, sometimes you can't see it for what it really is, which is oftentimes other people suffering and them not able to see their own suffering or resistance or trauma or things that they need to work on and heal. I don't say that from a place of judgment, because I all think we have baggage. But I think, again, it comes from a place of like, I can control the inputs. I can show up and do the work, show up and be my authentic self, show up at my best capacity, and then I have to hold everything else with a loose hand. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Right. What's within your control, what's not.
Yep.
And like you had said earlier, you know, people's perceptions of you, people's reactions to you, not within your control. And something that I've been trying to work on is that whole, you know, I'm a recovering people pleaser. So there's always this like, I want everyone to like me. But then I'm like, no, actually, I don't want everyone to like me. And to be okay with like, I don't like everybody. So there's going to be people that don't like me. And that has to be okay. And I think, because you had been saying something about like people our age and how we've kind of been going about life. I feel like we've been normalizing a lot more things and like unshaming a lot about life. That has just given a lot of room for growth. Because yeah, I'm thinking about like even this video right now. I am not enthusiastic about how my hair looks. I don't like how these headphones really look on me either, but it works for my setup. And so I found, you said writing works for you. I find voice notes work the best for me. And I'm actually really drawn to video. I feel like people's response to me is better through video, and like that light shining that you're kind of talking about kind of comes through more. I struggle because I'm like, oh, I need to look a certain way if I'm going to make a video. But then I look at other creators who sometimes they look amazing and sometimes they're just kind of blah, and I don't judge them for that. I'm not like, oh,
Yes.
what's wrong? You didn't wear makeup today? Like, you're so much prettier with makeup. Why aren't you? Like, it doesn't bother me. If anything, I'm
Right.
like, wow, good for you. But like, I can't do
know.
that for myself. It's so hard. Yeah.
Yeah, but why? Why is there such a discrepancy between how we show up for ourselves and how we show up with other people? Because that's the same thing.
Right.
It doesn't trigger me when I see a creator in their athletic clothes and they look like they haven't showered or they came directly from a workout and look like a wet dog. You know, like I don't judge them at all. I'm like, thank you for putting out content that inspired me today. But like, why do you think there's such a discrepancy between self and others?
Yeah. Well, I've known so I host sharing circles and support groups and things. And I've noticed that when I first started attending something like that, it was a little scary to, share myself. I was a very shut down person that didn't really share most of myself. I kept a lot of me hidden, even until recently. Um, and I've been slowly kind of shedding the layers. But I got to where I was able to find safety within myself within a safe container, which was helpful. And I could easily talk about my thoughts, ideas, struggles, be vulnerable in that way. But I've found that being seen physically is way harder than me being seen in my thoughts and ideas and stories. And so, like, going on video, that can be a stretch. It's not so bad for me now. I mean, than when I first started. I still struggle with that. I need to look a certain way before I can make a video. So that's kind of my growing edge. But a recent experience I had was I went to an ecstatic dance. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I listened to that episode.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. I just went last Friday, I think, or 2 weeks ago for my first time. I didn't know anybody. I went by myself.
Comfort zone pushing.
I know. And I was like, okay, movement, because for me, I experienced a lot of shame and embarrassment from like physically being seen as a kid. And so I was always very self-conscious. And so I'm like, okay, fortunately this is a safe space to go. Like, no one's going to judge how you move because that's the point of it. But it was really freeing to actually go do it for myself, to go and just be free to move however the music moves me, knowing nobody's going to judge me. I'm welcome to do this. And it was nice to notice, like, okay, I just did that and nothing bad happened.
Right. And that's the first time.
Yeah.
And so I feel like when you can do something really hard in a safe place, then time two is way less hard, even if it's not in a safe place. I think that people should obviously be in a safe place. But say, for instance, with that example that you're talking about, dancing is definitely a point of shame. I mean, like, I am like not a great dancer. And that's fine. But I still show up on the dance floor at every single wedding I'm invited to because it is fun. Yeah. And I think to myself, you know what everyone else is thinking? It's like when you go on the beach. It's like what everyone else is thinking is like, oh my gosh, like, what would I look like? Or they're on the dance floor and they're thinking about themselves. So it's like this phenomenon of like, you think you're being watched by everyone, but really they're just thinking about themselves being watched by everyone, which is not happening. So it's like, yeah, you might, I might be the weird, awkward person with my husband that's like out on the dance floor when like the music just started. And everybody's like, ooh, that weirdo for like 2 seconds. And then they never think about me again. And guess what? The whole dance party has now erupted because of this one weird person who started dancing, like, so I appreciate your bravery. And I think it's scary to do everything the first time. But again, building that safe environment, whether it's your groups that you have or this dance event that you went to, I think to push yourself out of your comfort zone in a place that makes you feel held, in a place of non-judgment, is so powerful. And then you can do whatever you want because you have a little bit of that confidence tied to that activity now.
Right. Right. And like you said before about taking things personally, when no one's really thinking about you. Or if they do, it's a brief, okay, that person's weird and it's fine. And then they move on and they don't think about you again and it didn't matter.
Nope.
And if someone's judgy towards you, it's like, it has more to do about them than it has anything to do about you.
Right.
So who
Inputs,
cares?
outputs.
Right.
It's
Right.
like, if I want to go have a fun time at this wedding, like if I don't dance, I will have regrets.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think about that too. Like how, I think a lot about death. I'm sorry. This seems so morbid, but I think when you meditate on impermanence for the human body, that is death. But when you meditate on impermanence, you're reminded of how you only have this one life. And when I am on my deathbed, I want to look back on the life that I lived and be like, dang, like that was so good. And in that moment, that translates to at the wedding, if I don't dance, I will feel regret. It's like I went to this conference a few weeks ago. I was a teacher of teachers there. And it was my first in-person one, which was super scary, but I did anyway. And they had karaoke one of the nights, and I am a horrible singer, but I was like, I really want to do this. Like the entire night, I wanted to. So that's like my inner voice being like, do it, do it, do it. And I was like, okay, I'll just find someone to do it with, right? Because I'll go with a group because that feels safe. Mm-hmm. And so I found a few people to go up and sing a song, and it was so much fun. And then I did 5 more with people. And was I in front of the mic? No, but I have no regrets over how that night went. And another situation happened this morning around this where I was at the gym, and I'm also trying to get people on my podcast too. And so but it's really scary because I have no community, right? I'm moving around constantly. And so I have to not live in the stranger danger zone. I have to be okay with approaching people. And so I was at Planet Fitness working out, and there was this really cool looking person. Her hair was fire. Her glasses were awesome. She was tattooed. I was like, man, this person must have a good story. Although that's totally judgmental, but I was it came from a place of admiration. And so I was leaving the gym, and I complimented her on her glasses, but I left, drove away. 5 minutes down the road, I was like, I can't sit with this anymore. Turned around, went back to the gym, and handed her my card. And I'm like, this is totally crazy. I don't know you at all, but you just seem like a cool chick. Do you want to be on my podcast about what it takes to live a good life? And she's like, funny that you asked me this because I'm going through a lot in my life right now. And I just feel like the universe is telling me to do this. And I'm like, what? Gasp. I was I wanted to be mic drop, right? It's kind of synchronicities meets me turning, channeling that voice, this intuition. But for me right now, that voice is when I feel like I need to do something, it feels like a little bit of regret. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You feel man, I wish. That's the way I would explain it. I wish I had done that. Except now when that feeling comes up, I'll act on it almost immediately, or I'll leave and then come back. And now I feel like that's a recipe for a no regrets life. It might not work out, right? I could not control what she said, but either way, it made her day a little bit brighter because I saw her and I didn't even know her.
Yeah. No, and I love what I hear is now that you've experienced this and you recognize that feeling sensation that you get in your body, that you now trust that. And it's something that you can, I don't know, rely on, or something that gives you encouragement. Oh, it's this, it's back. I should act on this. Even if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't have anything to do with cognitive logic or anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Which logic always will convince me to not do what's like good in my best that alignment piece, right? The logic most of the time is the thing that takes me out of alignment, whereas I hear you really staying aligned and trusting your intuition, and it can bring about really awesome things for you.
Yeah, it feels like this thing I was talking about before, which is like my mind state lives up here, my soul state lives down here. And when they're in alignment, I feel like my life is like flow. I talk with my hands a lot.
It's okay. I love it.
And I feel like when there's a bigger delta between those two, I feel anxiety. I feel stress in my body. I feel like sad. I feel like my life doesn't feel right. Something feels off. And so when these match up, it feels really powerful. So I wonder for you, what do you feel like is your soul goal? Like, what do you feel like you're intended to do? Or what feels right for you? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you might not be able to name the whole thing, but what comes up as an inkling of truth in that realm?
I love that question. So I have several different things popping up right now. So I'm trying to like figure out.
Say them all.
Yeah. Have you heard of human design?
I need you to elaborate.
So it's kind of in the realm of like astrology, but it's different. It's like a synergy of like different types of astrology and physics and astronomy, and like there's like the Hebrew version and the Indian version, and I don't know, it's like a combination. And then
it sounds cool.
Yeah. And then there's 5 types, I think, that people can be. And then it kind of goes into personality and other things. But when I came across this, I was able to see myself like it's not earth shattering in like it reveals new things about you that you don't know, but it like zeroes in on the things that you do know about yourself to where you can like see yourself in such a clear way that helps to remove all the stuff that's not you. Like it really helps you to see you clearly so that all the other stuff that's not you, you can just like get rid of.
Light.
That's how I see it anyway. And so I'm called a projector. That's my type. And with that type, it's not an energy type. So there's energy types and non-energy types. And so like I need a lot of rest. That's just something that my type is. And when I do have energy, like that's the time to really, do my stuff. And then when I don't, like it's time to rest. And for the longest time I was go, 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 go. So I was working against my own energy, being out of alignment with my own energy. And so that was one thing that really helped. But another thing about projectors is at least the way I am, is being able to see things that a lot of other people like can't see, or seeing people in a deep way that maybe they've never felt seen before, kind of a thing. Yeah. So I feel like my purpose is deeply seeing others, reflecting them back to themselves so that they can see themselves, and sharing like love and light and respect, human to human, this humanity shared. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yes, that is so good. Mine's of similar alignment. I think that's maybe why we both found education.
It's so funny, like you say that. It's so funny because, when you're a kid and everyone's asking you, what do you want to be? And I never had anything. Like there was never really anything that I wanted to be. there were things that I'm like, oh, maybe this, maybe that. And I also felt like I never really had guidance either. And this was one of those moments of, what do we call it? I'm blanking on the word. Synchronicity. I was at I got a spot at the International Science and Engineering Fair in high school.
Oh, I also did.
Did you?
Yeah.
And technically, there was something that happened that went wrong. And if it had been righted, which it wasn't, unfortunately, I wasn't supposed to be there. I would have been knocked out. And it was actually my best friend at the time who was supposed to go. And so it was really devastating because I felt like I had taken their place and I didn't deserve it. And it was really sad. But when I went, that's where I met Mrs. Blennis, who was our advisor. She was my judge. And again, I didn't really even know what I wanted to do, but my project was in chemistry. I was like, she's like, oh, would you come to Florida? I'm like, well, my grandparents live there, so yeah, probably. And she's like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I want to be a chemistry teacher. And she was like, that's exactly what we're looking for. And I was like, oh. So they offered me a scholarship. And I was like, I just pulled something out of thin air. I was just like, I want to be a chemistry teacher. And then it was like, set me on this whole path, right? Like, it was so crazy. And this place that technically I shouldn't have even been at, but it worked out. And so I see these points in my life that, yeah, crazy.
There's the universe again.
Which is funny because I was torn between being a teacher and going into psychology and doing like counseling. Same. And it's now that's I've swapped now. I mean, it's still elements of education in there. So I'm grateful for that. But now it's more like therapy counseling. So both, I guess. There's room for both.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm on sabbatical this year. So like, I've been teaching, I don't even know, like 12, 14 years, something like that. And I also am like chemistry and environmental is what I teach. And so I had to like present before the board this like very complex, elaborate plan for this year. And half of it was this seeking joy part. And half of it was the American Enviro Tour where I like travel around the US, go to the national parks, video it, podcast with people who are environmental experts to bring that into the classroom to enhance my class. But at the moment, I'm very, very immersed in the world of what it means to live a good life, and so that I can get that base down and obviously keep working on it, but then add in the other stuff as I go. So I feel really lucky, and I feel like things happen for a reason, like what you're talking about. But I also just want to echo the fact that like, I think both of us in the journey of education are unique educators. And by that, I mean, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I love the art of teaching. Honestly, you could give me a book and I'll teach anything. Not because I'm a knowledgeable expert in it, but you know how there's like content expert teachers and there's people who love the art of teaching. These are different. Sometimes you find them in each other, but like it actually is pretty rare. Oftentimes you'll find people who are like geology experts who happen to become teachers. Or you have people who literally love teaching and they can teach anything. Just depends on where it falls. And maybe they have to find what year they are, or, like elementary, middle, high school or something. And I love the art of teaching. I love empowering people, inspiring people. I love kids that show up and they're like, I hate science. And I'm like, let me tell you all the things and believe in you, right? Because both of us are enablers. And I don't mean that from a bad place, because I think that word has such a negative connotation. We are people that are the human glue, because we see people and value people and connect them with what their highest potential of self is, not from a place of privilege or knowledge or knowing, but from a place of deep love from within us. Because I think it's really hard to love somebody else if you don't love yourself first too. So I feel like my capacity to hold people and wherever they are at is becoming better and better as I start to show up and love myself, flaws and all, camera and all, showered, not showered, short hair, long hair, I don't know, 10 pounds heavier or lighter or whatever. It all tends to be appearance. But I think you and I love this art of teaching because it allows people, because in that role, we lift people up and see people. And I think that's why you're transitioning to this other era, for lack of better words, of like your life journey and career and your passions and your soul goal evolution. And I think that's so awesome, right? Because that probably had initial resistance out the gate, but you were like, no, 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 I have to do this work. I am called to do this work. It makes me feel like I am lighting up inside. My soul is on fire. Right? There was this one quote that I love, which is, be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire. And when I was writing this sabbatical proposal, I said that over and over again. And it was part of my proposal because I had to be like, I want to use part of my sabbatical to hear people's stories, to create an environment where I can learn the wisdom of others who have lived 18 years or 80 years. It doesn't matter. Because I want to learn from people. I want to connect with people. I only have this one life. And I would live in a community like this, but I want to expand it this year and allow the opportunity for people to feel seen exactly as they are. And me to be like, I love you, stranger. I don't even know you. And so that definitely took a lot of bravery because I knew there were people who didn't value that work. Right? So I think there is definitely an energy around vulnerability is a weakness. For me, it is not. I think it is a powerhouse energy, but you also have to own it. You have to be like, this is what's coming up for me. I am being vulnerable right now. I know I can't control how you show up, but like, this is me right now. And so when I presented it, I had to just be like, nope, I have to be fearless in the pursuit of what sets my soul on fire. And this is my soul goal. This is what I'm meant to do. I think it'll adapt and change and stuff. And then I added the environmental piece because ultimately I love environmental stuff and I love making my classroom more dynamic, more engaging, more life components being brought up. But I knew that was a more easy sell. You know, this seeking joy part in this human development and reaching your highest potential and capacity and hearing people's stories is like a taboo thing, right? Like we all know it has value innately somewhere deep down, but I feel like it's taboo to want to be paid for it per se, or to want, or to find like value in it from a traditional sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I appreciate what you do. I think it's great.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And I'm coming back to when you asked me that question, for me, what sets my soul on fire is this relational work, connecting with people in an authentic way, being able to be our true selves and being okay. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like so much of our life is trying to not be ourselves. And then we have to like undo that. Not everyone decides to do that, but yeah, that this work of relational work is really what sets my soul on fire, and reconnecting people, our hearts, our souls together. And these groups that I lead, like people come from all over the world, and that has really changed my life, hearing like the universality of being human. Like in some ways we're like all the same, like we have a lot of the same experiences no matter where we are in the world, and at the same time we're so different, and we can celebrate our differences and love each other and accept each other in our differences. But it's like you're actually spending time with people in that space and hearing their stories, and then it really opens up, you know, your perception of the world, acquiring wisdom, you know, like it has
so
changed my life.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we need spaces like that. And you know what's crazy is people come out of those spaces and they're like, wow, I have never felt something like that before. And what's insane is everyone deserves to feel that. And I want more people to live in that presence of knowing in existence than not. Right? But we need to like we are as a society waking up into this consciousness awareness revolution, for lack of better words, and valuing things that make our souls feel whole and make our bodies and minds feel accepted as they are. And I think your group work is so powerful in that. I mean, I haven't been in it, but I can imagine just by the space that you're creating here. And I just yearn so deeply for people to feel what it's like to be seen, heard, and valued. I had an episode where I recorded with this lady, phenomenal. I'm not going to name her. And after we had recorded, she like came up to me the next day and she's like, I feel a little, I'm summarizing here, but so I might like butcher it a little bit, but the sentiment was like, I feel so grateful that you did that, but also like a little bit self like spoiled, a little bit, I don't want to say self-absorbed, that's not the right word, but like a little bit like selfish in your time. Like you gave me an hour and a half of your time and I just like spilled all of my story. And I'm like, yeah, I know, that's the point. Like I'm a holding presence for you. But I think in a world that goes so fast, she noticed when it slowed down and she noticed when I held full presence for her, just like you do for your groups, because it is such an absent thing. Do you see what I'm saying? That discrepancy between the way we normally show up and these groups or the podcast or whatever, there's such a discrepancy between these two worlds that people who don't normally experience it, who experience it, are like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like there is some magic here. And you're like, I know, but I'm not doing like witchcraft. You know, like
I know,
no judgment on the witchcraft. I was like literally, I'm just hearing what you're saying. Like, and just leaving dead air, right? The power of wait time, the power of like asking a question, like from a genuine place. Like I have this whole list of curated questions, but I don't often use them because I'm listening to what they're saying. And there is nothing more powerful than to ask a question that comes from what they just said, because it gives them the chance to, it literally is evidence of them being heard. And they're like, she was like, I think she bought me flowers or wrote me a card or something and was like, thank you so much for this gift. This was the same woman. And I was like, your gift is mine, right? Like you gave me that time. I learned the wisdom of your whole life. And you were vulnerable enough and brave enough to share it with me. That is a gift to me. Do you see? But like with people who don't experience it, it was so profound. Although these are my words putting on her experience, it was perceived to be so profound that she stopped her day and was like, thank you. I'm like, dude, I'm not magic. I'm just like prioritizing this thing that I think everyone should experience.
But you recognize the gift. Not everyone recognizes that. And so when you're holding that, you know, the energy that you're putting out, being able to receive someone's life story and wisdom and hold that, that is such a gift that a lot of people unfortunately don't get to experience. And so, but you also see the gift of receiving that. And so I see, you know, you both received there and you both saw it as a gift. And yeah, that's been my experience as well. I love that. And people, there's been like, I remember this one lady that came to my group and was so uncomfortable because they had never witnessed compassion and care for one
Oh,
another to this degree before that it was like, I can't believe this exists.
doesn't that like hurt a little bit too? You're like, I'm
Yes.
so happy you're here, but like, oh my gosh, I just want to hold you.
Yeah. But then they came back. Like they
Oh,
and like I've always had somebody new that comes that has pretty much every time it's like, wow, this is amazing, this is magic, whatever. A lot of times won't come back, which is fine. It's not for everybody, or not everybody gets it, like what it is that it's giving them. Um, but when somebody does get it and they come back and they come back and they come back, and it's like, I mean, their whole life changes
mm-hmm.
because of this community, this connection. Really, it's the connection, but it's not even the connection with others, it's connection to themselves, but
Yeah,
being witnessed so compassionately when the rest of their life wasn't and they never received that, to now be witnessed in that way, to be themselves and see that they're okay, that nothing bad is happening, and that they can come back and keep receiving if they want to.
right.
Like, yeah.
That's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And they're showing up. These people are
Mm-hmm.
showing up and they're doing the work, right? Like, again, let's demystify this. It is not magic, it is work, right? Like, you can come to these groups and say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You can come to these groups and not hold space in a way that's useful, right? Could even be damaging. Hopefully, that is not the case because the space is safe. I don't mean yours, I mean any space.
Right. Yeah.
But if you're showing up and you're literally trying at whatever capacity you have on that day, which is all anyone can ever ask and you can ask of yourself. And then you rip it. Then it just like you just ride it. You just see what it's going to be, and we notice resistance when it comes up. You maybe like knock on the door and you're like, "Let me through." And like you just enjoy it for what it is. It's like this group that I'm a part of. I started maybe like 2.5 weeks ago. It's this morning gratitude group called Great Mornings. And I'll tell you about it. And well, I'm going to tell you about it now, but I'll tell
Yeah.
you about it after
Please.
too.
Sure.
And so it's from 9 to 9:30 Eastern time, and it's on Zoom. And it's from these two people that I love, Cam and Elle. They're all over X, but they also are on Instagram as well. And so every day at 9, every weekday rather, you come into the Zoom room and they like set the boundaries. And you do 10 gratitudes, 10 affirmations, and then a high vibe habit. But you go into breakout rooms with like two other people. So there's like three of you. And you are like riffing 10 gratitudes, riffing 10 affirmations, and doing a high vibe to these three people in your group. And then we come back to the bigger group and they often are like, what did somebody learn? Like, or was there anything that was like magical in your group that you want to share? And it is just so amazing. Honestly, it's my hype group for the whole day. Because I think gratitude in particular is one practice that I just feel like it just seems so simple, right? Like it seems so like, duh, do gratitudes. Except I feel like when you show up and you do it every single day, it makes a difference. But it also is a very powerful difference when you're doing it with a group where they see you as you're like closing your eyes and you're just letting it rip with regard to your affirmations. Like, I don't know what's going to come up, but I'm just going to like talk about it. And I feel like it's been super powerful as like a base through which I can walk through life for that day.
Mm.
Right? Like a practice that is reorienting and grounding in the anchors that I value in this life that I'm creating. Right? Like James Clear, the guy who wrote Atomic Habits,
Mm.
said it really, really well. He said, every action you take is a vote for the person you're becoming.
Mm.
Until you have so many votes, you are that person now. And I just like am reminded that one step in the direction of the life you want to live is one more step than you took before. And that should be celebrated. And some days you'll take 50 steps, and some days you'll take a half a step. But as long as you took a step or some like acknowledgement of some kind of step forward. As long as you're moving forward, that is progress. It's not about perfection. And yeah, I really do feel like things happen the way they're supposed to happen. I was supposed to be on this call today. I was supposed to be connected with you because it's firing me up, because I'm reminded of why I'm doing the things I'm doing and why the things we do matter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Again, not from a place of pretentiousness, from a place of like, I know what it feels like to feel this way, and I want other people to feel this love that doesn't come with any strings.
Mm-hmm. That's the
And
tricky
is
part,
universal. Yeah.
because I think so many people's experiences of love is that it does have strings.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to trust that it doesn't, which is like with my group, it is completely free. You don't even have to sign up. So I'm not like trying to add you to my email list so I can make you a client or anything like that. It's, I believe everyone deserves to have a space where they can come and be seen and heard and relate in a safe, authentic way with other people, that I offer this. And there are no strings attached. And that it's hard to find that in the world, because a lot of people do have some sort of ulterior motive, whether it's, income. Now I have other ways of, getting income or whatnot. But that group is not, for me, a way to manipulate people into working with me or whatever. Like that is like my life passion of bringing people together in this way. There's like no risk to you other than the vulnerability of taking the step, right?
Yeah.
And
But I think it's about
that,
transparency.
yeah.
Like I don't think there's anything wrong with charging for a service.
No.
I think
No.
the issue is with people being unaware of what they're getting into before they get into it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like if my life leads me down the road of coaching because that's what's supposed to happen, I will know it at the time, and that will be a very transparent process.
Mm-hmm.
Just like this group is really powerful because you're being transparent about it having no strings.
Right. Right. Because I do use this space, this container, in paid offerings as well.
Yeah.
But to also have a offering that is just open and free. Like
And
both
of
can exist.
service. And
Right.
of service.
Right.
I think there are times in my life where I didn't have money, or I didn't, I was barely getting by. And that part of me, that version of me deserves it too.
Right. Exactly.
And so I think it's beautiful that you offer that. And I think to some extent, that's what I do with the podcast, because I'm not like charging for the podcast. And so I think, people who resonate with you will keep coming back.
Mm-hmm.
They will resonate with your energy, your light, your space. The right people will find you if they need to. If you're doing all the things, because you're showing up and you're recording conversations and you're having these free groups, and like your light will get out there because you're not dimming it in the face of other people who feel uncomfortable by it.
Yeah. That's
And
been a
that's
hard
magic.
lesson. That's been a hard lesson, to not diminish myself because it makes other people uncomfortable. That's been
Heck yeah.
one of the hardest bits of this. And really, I did a word of the year, and
Ooh.
this year it was fierce. So like this like fierce courage to be me and not let other people's opinions and whatnot dim my light, that I was just going to fiercely be me. And
Yes.
I've relied on that this year. Like, I've had to come back and be like, embody that fierceness to get me through some really difficult decisions and things that I've wanted to do. And yeah, but it's hard. It's hard to choose myself when I grew up feeling like I had to put everyone else first.
There's that people
And
pleaser.
mhm. Mhm. And so, I mean, to even think about putting myself first, like I had to challenge all these sort of beliefs and whatnot to even start to take steps in that direction, because it was like, no, this is wrong, this is bad, all the judgment and shame and whatnot. And then the relief that I finally felt when I was like, I matter too. What? I
Yes.
matter. Yeah.
And you're fierce.
Yeah.
And you're fierce. And the work you do matters. I am so stinking proud of the person that you're becoming. I think it's so beautiful and so incredible. Really. I would love to make the space to do one more thing together if you're open to it.
I am. I'm
Okay.
really curious.
I would love to do 5 gratitudes and 5 affirmations, whatever feels right, and one thing you're going to do to become the person you're becoming.
Mm.
It could be just something today. It could be something like over a long term.
Yeah.
I can start with gratitudes.
Yeah. I was going to say, if you could model for me, that would be helpful.
Teacher
Yeah.
time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, I am super grateful for you, Christine. I think you are such a loving presence, and I felt so held today, exactly as I am. And I just appreciate that so much, even though we haven't seen each other in so long. I am grateful for Michigan summers. They are warm, but this morning was like brisk, and like it's just like falling into fall. And I love this weather. Sunny during the day, but like cooler at night. Like I just feel really good about that. I am grateful that I stepped into my light a little bit more by asking that person to be on the podcast. I am just so grateful for that. I am grateful that every morning I start with gratitudes, and I feel like it's my hype action of the day. And I feel like that group, the Great Mornings group, has changed so much in such a short amount of time, because these are practices that matter. And I am grateful for the person I'm becoming. I am grateful to be doing the work to be inspired by the version that I will be in 10 years. I want to like think of myself in 10 years and be like, yes. And I feel like I'm doing the actions to get there. And I'm so grateful for that.
I love that. I love it. I'm like basking in that gratitude. Like I feel it from you. All right, my turn. I'm grateful for you, this conversation, that we've reconnected and that we are on kind of similar paths, and can support each other's work in being aligned in this way. I am grateful for your energy. Like I feel it, and I'm like, it is inspiring me. That's not quite the right word. Like motivating. I don't know. There's just like I feel it, and it's giving me something to like keep going. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the weather that we're experiencing here, because it was really, really hot just like Friday, Saturday, and today it's in the 70s, and kind of that briskness that you talked about, like, it just has been felt so good to get that break from the summer heat. and just loving. I guess I'm grateful for this transition into fall. Like I'm really savoring the end of summer because I love the green and I love the rains and just I don't know, there's something about summer. But I'm also really looking forward to the fall. So I'm noticing, this transition time between summer and fall and what fall will bring because I am looking forward to the weather cooling off and wearing sweaters and drinking warm drinks and all the fall things. Let's see. Was that 3, 4? I don't
Just
remember.
let it rip. Whatever feels right. If you want to do 6 or 7, I'm here for it.
Okay. I am grateful for the growth that I'm experiencing. Even today, just on this call, again, not feeling great about my appearance today. And also noticing that, like, normally that would hit a lot deeper when I would say that. And right now, it's more just like I can say it as an acknowledgement and not feel like terrible shame about it, which is a big win for me too. So I'm grateful that that is maybe healing and changing, and giving me hope because I do want to make more videos. I feel like that is something I actually want to and enjoy doing, but this piece has been holding me back. And so
Not anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Allowing that to be. Yeah. Yeah.
Good?
I'm good. Yeah.
Dude, those were so good. Oh, I love it. And also I see many videos in your future.
Yeah.
I'm not a clairvoyant, but I just feel it. Okay, affirmations. So I am seen exactly as I am. I am seen as I was, as I am, and as I will be. All parts of me are accepted. All parts of me are understood. All parts of me come from a place of ease. My light is bright. My light is radiant. My light is strong. It impacts others and comes from a place anchored in love and wants to do good in the world. I create a life where all of the inputs are rock solid and then I hold the outputs loosely. I manifest the life I want because I sprinkle magic all the heck all over this. Oh, yes. And I think it comes from that power of deep human connection. I, every single day, am doing the actions it takes to live the best stinking life I can. Because when I look back, I don't want to have any regrets. I want to feel like I did everything I could. And today, I did just that.
I love it. I love it. Your energy is so, I can't think of the word. It's transferring to me though. Like I'm like my body's like humming with it. So I love it. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to give this a try. I'm noticing my resistance happening here. I don't have problems with affirmations when I'm doing it with myself. Naming them to be witnessed is a completely different thing. So I'm stepping out of my comfort zone and already noticing a perfectionistic thought of what counts as an affirmation and to make it good. So I'm just going to acknowledge that and move it out of the way and do my best to make some sort of affirmation.
Let it rip.
So uncomfortable. I'm so uncomfortable with this.
You could do it.
Let's see. My mind is blanking now. So I'm going to take a breath. I am safe. I'm going to start with that. I am safe. It is okay for me to make an affirmation for myself. So that's my first one. Let's see. I can do this. And I am doing it. And it's really hard, but I can do hard things. I'm allowing myself to be witnessed in my vulnerability as I witness others. And so I am receiving this gift of witnessing, being witnessed, and sharing in this wonderful, beautiful practice with you. I am putting out this podcast from my heart to the world because I believe in this work. I believe in its magic and healing power. And I believe that from my heart, it will make a difference for someone somewhere. And I am devoted to myself first, this work, continuing this work, sharing this work, and allowing it to transform me and itself and the world.
That was so beautiful. I was like tearing up and then I popped off.
That was really hard for me.
It was so good though. I know. I felt the resistance, and then I felt you actually step to that resistance and push it. Like so much. That was the emotion that was coming from me, was that observation on holding the space of you doing that. And that is so stinking powerful to be present as someone does that. Mm-hmm. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. It was so brave.
Well, this is the work. And this is what, like, I want to be in integrity with the work that I help people with and that I hold for others, right? So I'm not going to ask someone to do something that I wouldn't be willing to do myself. And when I'm inviting people, into this healing journey or into connection, and it's vulnerable and it's scary, but we can do it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have one more thing. Habit.
Yes. Okay.
So I'll do 2. These are things that I already do. I want to keep doing them. 3. I definitely want to keep video journaling. I think it's really hard, but I think that there's work to be done there because I find it hard. It is not my natural tendency. Like I said before, I think I'm like a written processor. Like that's how I reflect. But like to riff on video without any input from other people is like it's like honestly really hard. And I'm not like a sage on the stage type of person. It might appear that way, but I'm not. I want to do gratitudes every morning, and I have like a mala bead necklace, and there are 108 beads on this necklace. And I want to say a gratitude for each one of these every morning, anchoring in that reality for me. And then I want to read 10 pages of a nonfiction book every day or more, because I just think of the wealth of knowledge that other people took the time to pour into these books that tell their story. And I may never be able to meet them because maybe they've passed or maybe they're just super famous or something. And I want to learn from people, and I can do that through books and podcasts and stuff. So I would say it's more about continuing to learn. Part of the reading came from 75 Hard, to be fair. So I'm still going to do that for the rest of the days. But yeah.
Awesome. I love that. And I also just want to speak to the gratitude because my gratitude practice has been in the evening, but I've been doing it for nightly for a couple years now, and it really does make a difference. I'd be interested to see what it's like to do it in the morning, though.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious about that. I think for me, kind of tying into the whole making videos thing, but this is something that I've been working on and towards, but that I want to be more devoted to is even if I don't share it publicly, writing down my thoughts and ideas, because for so long I've cast them aside as like not important, not needing to be witnessed or shared, and that I feel that I have things that I can share that could be beneficial to others, but also the act of doing it beneficial to myself. So I want to be devoted to that practice of recording.
Yeah, like daily pages.
Ooh, that was weird.
Oh, there's two of you.
Is there?
Oh, just kidding. You're back now.
Okay. That has
So,
never happened to me before.
well,
There's always some
we're back.
weird technical thing that happens. It's different every time. It always happens. I go with it. But yeah, so that's mine.
But that's like daily pages, but like in video form or in like the Notes app.
Yeah, well, because I haven't been doing daily pages, but that even, yeah, I do like to write notes a lot, so I think I'll
like
do
written
something
or
more like that.
like voice.
Usually I write them. I think I'd like to do more voice or video ones, but just put more of myself out there.
You put one out the other day. I saw it.
I did. Yeah.
I know. It was good.
I was inspired by you actually, because you were doing some of those and I was like, that's an easy. I feel like it's so much easier than just having to like create some kind of pretty post or something. I'm like, oh, this is easy. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you inspired me actually.
Oh. You're so great. Yeah, that's amazing. I think, I mean, I saw it. I think I hearted it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a wonderful place to close. So I would love to know what you are taking with you from this conversation.
Honestly, so many things. The power of human connection. I am reinvigorated. I feel like I always hold a little bit, like the best way to explain it is like my soul goal is always like a candle that's lit inside. But sometimes it's like a little bit like flickery and like dim, not because of like conformity or those type of things, but like I feel like today like fuel was put on it and now it just feels like it's rage burning, but not in a destructive way, but like in an energetic way. And I'm just like reminded of why this work matters so much. And I just feel to be around someone who holds your light and sees you authentically as you are is so powerful. And this call gave that to me. It reminded me of why the work that we do matters, why showing up for people matters, why your group matters, why my podcast matters, because it offers this opportunity for people to be seen, heard, and valued exactly as they are. It allows their past to come in and be talked about in a way that can be held with compassion. It allows them to dream of what their future capacity could be, and then it lifts them up to that. This conversation did just that for me. And
that's awesome.
oh, I love opportunities where people can connect and see the light in other people. And I feel so much gratitude. I started the conversation with gratitude. I'm finishing the conversation with gratitude, but very much rooted in a place of love and light for me. And I just really appreciate you creating the space and asking me to be on, because I just feel so lucky.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank
so
you.
It's the reminder. It's the reminder for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I hear that and I feel that. Like there's this excitement kind of pulsing its way through my body, and it has helped remind me also why I love this work. I love doing this because there's times when I'm like, do I want to put out the work of doing this podcast? Like, it's not nothing. Like, it does require time to do. I mean, the conversation part, I mean, that's a no-brainer. I love that. I would do this all day long. But to edit it and put it out there and promote it, you know, that's the part that I don't like. So it's like, why am I doing this? Should I keep doing this? Does it matter? But I'm like, no, it does. It does matter. I'm going to keep doing this because I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. This is like my heart going out, my soul going out. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that you agreed to be here, that you went on this journey with me, that you brought this amazing energy to this space, for your awesome questions. And this practice that we did at the end was amazing. And let's see. Yeah, I think I'm just taking your light, actually, your light, your energy with me, because I love this journey that you're on, this mission that you have, your podcast, and this whole seeking joy, I think is great. So I'm taking that with me. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm so proud of you, Christine.
Oh, thank you.
If you'd like to know more about Ashley, she describes herself as an educator, optimist, and visionary. She's been teaching all levels of chemistry and environmental science, including AP, for nearly a decade. She's also an adjunct professor at her local community college and an AP consultant. Her love of education, as well as her interest in all things science, began in high school and continued as she followed her passions, earning her undergraduate degree from Florida Institute of Technology in secondary science education, followed by her master's degree in sustainable development from the School for International Training. Ashley's other interests include any activity that supports lifelong learning and pushes her outside of her comfort zone. She has developed and facilitated workshops around personal growth and development, as well as her own podcast, the Seeking Joy podcast, which lean into both her desire to inspire and empower others to reflect and grow, but also to create a space where all humans can feel seen, heard, and valued as they are. She's currently on sabbatical for the 2024-25 school year, as she and her husband Ben traveled the U.S. in their converted school bus, where living a life rooted in the art of seeking joy is their intention. Be brave, dream big, stand out, no regrets. I will leave her information in the show notes. You can check out her website and podcast. And I'm also a guest on her podcast, so you can go check out that episode if you'd like to hear more of us together. You can find her podcast on Spotify, Pocket Casts, and Apple Podcasts. And find her at seekingjoyadventure.com. If you'd like to practice this type of presence or listening, or even finding this guidance, I host a free weekly practice group called the Sacred Connection Cafe. You're welcome to come whenever it suits you, with no agenda and no obligation, to join a group of people on this journey of authentic relating and presence. I also work one-to-one with people. If you or someone you know would like support in this type of work, I do have availability for some new clients, And for the holidays, I'm offering $50 off a 3-month package of sessions. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time to listen. I truly appreciate you. If you'd like to support this podcast, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, or share it with a friend. I'm found on Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, and Substack. You can find me at my website, www.christine-pollard.com, which I'll leave in the show notes.